Demacia Cup, and already they don't even play in Demacia Cup. We're already in Champ Select.
Yeah, and HanGong Club has shown itself, and we are in Champ Select, so we do see the first two bans out, fairly standard bans from both sides. But HanGong Club has shown themselves able to really pull off those, execute those really nice wombo combo, compositions. So you do want to see whether the members of AcFun are going to ban any of those champions, but it actually looks like the HanGong Club are going to ban out Leona and Oriana, despite the fact that those two champions worked so well for them last time. So you have to wonder whether possibly a Kale or a top Lulu is coming out right here, because they might want to deny AcFun those two champions while they reserve a high priority pick. But it is going to be the Nami. What a really confident pick coming out from Y. I mean, this guy did play fairly well last game, but I don't know if he's at the Nami tier yet, because if you want to play a game-changing Nami, you have to be really good.
I think you're definitely right, though. Banning out the Ori Leo when those picks worked very well for them, and then picking the Nami. Obviously, it's Y saying we don't want to face a Leona. We're going for the 2v2 lane. Nami does not fare well against a hard engaged champion like that, so they definitely have a game plan going in here, and I'm curious to see on the second pick of tiers if it's going to be that Lucian pickup and have that OGN popularized bot lane of the Lucian Nami. It is going to be Ziggs locked in and Jarvan on the side of AcFun.
Yeah, Ziggs and Jarvan is a very strong composition. Jarvan, of course, we saw in the last game, and I do have to say that I thought EM's Jarvan was very good, because he seemed to know, first he was targeting CK the entire game, but he showed himself to be able to make adjustments. So what he would do is he would land as much burst as possible onto the closest target, which usually meant BML, and then he would he would usually flash out of the Cataclysm in order to get another knockup onto another carry or squishy member of HanGong Club. So EM is one of the reasons why AcFun was able to extend that game so long, and it looks like HanGong Club, instead of going for the late game composition this time as akin to what they played in the last match, they're going to go for the Lee Sin and Lulu, two very strong early game compositions, even though I do have to say Lee Sin and Lulu are champions that remain relevant throughout all stages of the game, and that's why they're so popular in China.
Lee Sin, probably the most picked champion internationally. It is going to be the Gragas lock-in for Miniko. Minoko?
Yeah, it's
Miniko?
I call it Minoko.
Minoko, he played it. Yeah. He played it last time. He's gonna play it this time around. Suda did have that Shyvana. We'll see if he goes that route again. Kog'Maw being hovered over.
Right. So Minoko did play the Jarvan 4 last time, and Victor also played the Lucian, and Minoko and Victor performed fairly well on both of those champions. So I'm not particularly disappointed to see that AcFun is going with some of the same, characters that they ran in their last composition. Now, this is going to be interesting if they lock into Jax right here. BML does have the late game Kog'Maw. He played the Twitch last game, so we're going to see if, BML can play another hyper carry that excels in the late game, and Y is going to lock in that Jax for Pseudo. So both Pseudo and BML are in very nice positions to carry this game. And I mean, again, another really well-rounded composition, really versatile composition coming out from the side of HanGong Club. Last game and this game too, they have a composition that can effectively split push, they can siege turrets, they can kite, they can aggress. This composition does a lot of things really well.
I think the only thing that it doesn't necessarily have for it is it doesn't have a true hard engage like the Solar.
Yeah, that is true.
It pretty much has, Nami ult typically is used for disengaging, can be used in the terms of hard engage, but not reliably so. So, on the other side, AcFun's comp has a lot going for it as well. It doesn't necessarily have that late game hard carry potential. You do have the anti-siege with Ziggs, but again, Lucian tends to stall out as far as an AD carry if he doesn't get that snowball going for him. They do now bring more hard engage in the form of that crescendo on Shine.
Right, and we do see enough Ziggs Lucian games to understand what that composition is supposed to do. When you have Ziggs and Lucian on your team, you want to be very aggressive. Gragas is another aggressive champion. J4 is an aggressive champion, and Sona can certainly bring the crowd control with that crescendo ultimate. You want to be very aggressive and try to end the game around the 35-minute mark. However, should should the members of HanGong Club somehow find themselves in an early advantage or find themselves able to stall out the game in the face of immense wave clear that comes out from a Gragas, from a Ziggs, from a Lucian, then they themselves might be in a very nice situation to win this game and take the entire set against, an AcFun team that you and I, just because of the way these teams, in what leagues these teams play in a set where HanGong Club was actually, slightly underrated.
No, I definitely agree. We did have the favorites going for AcFun here, but HanGong Club has showed very strong. We do see EM's going to catch out Crow here with a nice place flag. Just going to walk it off, though. Minor damage. Hubo, we saw a lot of action go down bot lane last time. If you were to choose another lane, it looks like it's going to be another 2v2s that kind of set up on the line of scrimmage. Where do you think the featured matchup is going to be in this game? Is it going to be back bot?
No, I really think the featured matchup is in the mid lane, just because NCL and CK have really clear, defined goals on what they want to do. Both of these champions are aggressive in the early game, but CK wants to ensure that his team survives the first team fights, and his team survives the first team fights that they need to in order to ensure scaling towards the late game happens, scaling past the 30 to 35 minute mark. On the other hand, NCT definitely wants to win lane right here. We commented that CK, despite being on the Orianna against the Lulu matchup, did win very hard in the mid lane. So NCT definitely wants to redeem himself right here, following several misplays, and he wants to try to press all the advantages he can. And, the lane switch is the beginning of that. AcFun does win when they do get this lane switch. They're going to be able to keep Suda down, despite the fact that, and Minoko's Gragas does clear waves very well too. Additionally, when you take down that first turret, that usually means you can rotate to an early dragon and or turret. So you're trying to, if you have the lane with the Ziggs, if you have the composition with the Ziggs and the Lucian, you want to do as much as you can in order to ensure that you're pushing down as many objectives as you can before 30 minutes.
I feel the issue here, though, is that AcFun might be prioritizing the incorrect target. We saw a fantastic showing from across-the-board members on the HanGong Club, although it looks like a blue contestation here. Suda taking a lot of damage from Shine Sona. Crow still has the blue buff, but he is going to get knocked up. Has the Ignite ticking.
Goodness.
Will he go down? And he falls to Shine's Ignite. But CK, in a bit of trouble now, is going to get the Nami come over for support and will walk out of that with the Nami passive. But, good contest.
Right, that was a little bit awkward. So what should have actually happened was that the members of HanGong Club, the double jungle out of HanGong Club, they should have. Well, okay. First of all, Suda went to the top lane very early, while Minoko hanged around with EM on that Gragas Jarvan 4 double jungle composition. And that was why when Minoko and EM eventually went, postured towards their own red buff, they saw their own AD carry and support in the top lane, as well as the fact that Suda was already there. So they knew that there was no possible way that the HanGong Club could have taken their own blue buff, right? So, and what that means is that they knew that they would, basically, it would be a 100% kill should they decide to contest the buff, and then, they did, and the rest is history.
Having that numbers advantage, though, AcFun making the call that they're going to put down Suda, and as I was saying before, BML and Suda had good showings last game.
Yes, they did.
I mean, obviously, just thinking that, okay, we need to prioritize the Jax, keep him down, is that going to mean that BML's Kog'Maw is going to be able to rise above it without much contention, going to kind of breeze past this laning phase with a 2v1?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the hope. And when you do have the 2v1 lane, especially when you initiate the 2v1 lane, then you do give up, in the event that the other team has, late game scaling, you are giving up a lot of precious time, which you could be putting pressure on the map. However, I don't necessarily disagree with AcFun's reasoning right here. They understand the strengths of a Jax. They understand what the strengths of BML's Kog'Maw are, and how dangerous that champion is on the primary carry, we've called them, of this HanGong Club team. So, I don't disagree with the fact that AcFun
Is this
wants
an issue that perhaps AcFun is reading that they have the correct shutdowns for BML's Kog'Maw if he does get out of hand, but not necessarily Jax?
Yeah, possibly. It's oh my goodness, that's a fail flash.
Oh, flashes into the wall. NCT in a lot of trouble right now. Crow's just
Yeah, he's
looking
in
for
bad.
the Q. AcFun swerving across, seeing
what?
if he can drunk drive this way and through. Shine
Oh my
to the
goodness.
rescue, intercepts the Q and pulls Crow away from it. NCT
How
is going
did
to
he
walk out
live?
with 2 HP. A nice save from Shine.
That was bad. So I think Crow, that was a combination of being out of energy as well as using his cooldowns to get NCT that low in the first place. I mean, AcFun is really lucky that Crow didn't get that early kill, because if Crow got the early
But
kill,
hold on,
we're
because
just dive right
Suda
here.
might be in a lot of trouble. Looking for the flag and drag. Will EM find it? Pretty much they're waiting for the tower aggro. Aggro is now on Jarvan. Flag and drags out of the tower. Suda is going to do a nice counter strike and hop to
Yeah.
safety with the leap strike there. But that's
Nice.
3 members and a wave onto that top tier tower.
Yeah, but still, nice, really patient play coming out from Suda to save his counter-strike until he knew that all 3 members of AcFun were in position to tank turret hits, and then, you know, he basically zoned the members of AcFun off of the turret and then decided to leap strike back to his own minions where he could go safely recall without fear of death. So really nice play coming out from both of these teams, but of course, you know, AcFun coming out with the early advantages. That's exactly where they want to be, given how dangerous. We're going to say this again and again and again. At least I'm going to say that again and again and again. How dangerous HanGong Club's composition can be, especially given that if you're executing the wombo combination correctly, like HanGong Club has shown that it can do, then that's even all the more worrisome.
Definitely, and like you said, this prioritizing of keeping Suda's jacks down, taking a lot of pain in that top lane, but CK now in a bit of trouble here. NCT finally on the chase, but Crow off in the wings. They don't see him. Looks like everyone's just going to back up, spots EM with the Sonic Wave, but is not going to Lee Syndrome proc that. Shine and Victor now really going hard, forcing Suda completely off the tower, and it's for sure going to be a very early tower for AcFun. Just gonna let it wind down to the EXP, forcing as much out as possible. They know that the teleport is not available because Suda used it previously. Is gonna fall back to this wolf camp.
Sorry, my microphone actually turned off. But what I was saying before, you know, was that, you know, the reason, despite the fact that AcFun is giving the members of HanGong Club a little bit of quarter by, you know, by starting this lane swap, they are going to be able to push that turret very quickly. Eventually have Minoko rotate towards the top lane, and have start trying to contest the dragon. So they're going to get the early turret, the early dragon, and hopefully after that dragon, they can either press advantages in the bottom lane, so the duo lanes can, so AcFun's duo lane can go and meet the Kog'Maw Nami lane, albeit Kog'Maw Nami is a very strong lane, and I don't know what that was. I think they might have been trying to get Suda, who was recalling right there, or the bottom lane of the dual lane from AcFun can actually decide to go and siege down the turret in the middle lane. So AcFun has a lot of choices right now, and we do see the Lucian and the Sona posturing towards the bottom lane. So it looks like they're going to try to extend some of their advantages and eventually wait for the dragon to be the first real objective or the first real fight that they want to meet HanGong Club in.
And likewise, as they switch over Miniko into that top lane against Suda, they left that tower at basically a stiff breeze will take that tower down. So, like you said, a lot of different options on play for the map right here. Suda in a very sticky situation, 23 to 31 CS in that top lane. Crow is wandering that way, but it looks like pings are actually going down for that mid lane. Doesn't want to leave the dragon unattended like you were saying. And AcFun is going to start the early pull on the dragon.
Yeah, so AcFun looks like they are going to get a very free dragon right here unless the members of HanGong Club that decide to collapse. You know, AcFun is very low right now just because of that turret, that dragon damage. And looks like the members of HanGong Club are going to re-engage on this dragon.
HG does find the counter dragon pull. It's going down rather quickly, but in the top lane, Suda in a lot of trouble, has to flash out. Oh, but oh no, it wasn't a dragon. Still, Lee Sin is just going to pick that up. It's going to be a free dragon for HG right there. And just going to waddle away, and Suda gets out with his life as well.
Despite Minoko being able to force out Suda out of lane, obviously that's an early win, and that is a minor triumph, and they were able to get the turret out of that as well. So AcFun is now leading 1 turret to 0. The fact that AcFun was so scared to turn on that fight was really worrisome. You know, obviously AcFun might still be feeling some of the effects of the last game. Crow needs to go clear out that last minion, And I think at this point in the game, their composition is very strong right now. They have the Lucian, they have Sona's Shine's Crescendo wasn't up yet, but he still had Ignite and a very powerful Power Chord. And NCD is doing very well in lane as well, so they shouldn't have been afraid to fight. So if they keep showing this kind of meekness in the sign of HanGong Club aggression, then this game might not even get to the 40-minute mark where HanGong Club wants to be. HanGong Club might make even earlier moves to try to finish out this game.
That definitely would be the prerequisite of what happened last time. We'll
Yes,
see if
it
they're able
would be.
to slow it down. Suda pretty much backed up against the wall, puts Gragas in a bit of a sketch situation, though. Doesn't want to be that far past River without the secure warding. Does have that ward on that blue buff, which has pretty much been there for about 20 minutes now, despite HG walking over it several times.
Right, not much action going on in the bottom lane because both of the champions do not have both of the supports, do not have their ultimate. Shine's ultimate, the Crescendo, just came up, while Y does not have his ultimate, so his just came up as well. So everything's relatively even. Again, there's a 1K goal lead in favor of AcFun, but and AcFun definitely wants to capitalize on this. Losing that dragon was an early loss and fairly discouraging, but they should be trying to pick themselves up and grab as many advantages as they can.
Speaking of advantages, looks like it's going to be a 3v4. CK is actually kind of on the outskirts of a ward. Looks like he's returning to mid lane as well as Crow back to his jungle. No pings are actually going down, so likewise 3v3. AcFun has a little bit of an advantage though because they saw Lee Sin place that ward, so they know something's about.
Yeah, and actually NCT was moving down, and you could tell that they knew that the Lulu was moving down as well, so it doesn't look like EM is going to get a successful gank off on his Jarvan 4. The flag and tag must have missed. So again, and there's a trade of damage in the top lane.
Yep, top lane, Suda's starting to go really hard, and Minoko here does have a lot of room to run. Gragas is very mobile, but has to be very careful, taken down to about 25% HP. It's going to free up that wave for Suda to farm in peace. Now, Crow looking at EM. EM does see him with the ward. Instead of the engagement, flags and drags over the wall. And the culling now coming across BM. L.
Yeah, in that initial fight, in the top lane, both top laners knew that Minoko was still holding onto his ultimate, so Minoko was never really in danger of dying unless Suda, pulled off a crazy play and then flashed over the explosive cask. Again, the gold is relatively even. There are now 2 kills in the favor of AcFun, and the gold is still at 1,000 at 1K. So as long as HanGong Club, I think both of these teams are feeling fairly good about themselves right now. As long as AcFun can contest this next dragon, potentially get this bottom tier turret with a dive, and this is going to be a dive right here.
And the Crescendo lands on BML, complete chain CC through the flag and dragon. Caps that off with a nice duck from the Catalyst, but it is going to be Lucian Victor picking up that kill there, keeping the gold in the lane.
Yeah, and the Super Mega Death Rocket does go off as well in order to push the middle lane. But as I was mentioning before, as long as AcFun keeps getting these small advantages like this, now they're 2,000 gold ahead. As long as AcFun just keeps building on these really small advantages, then they're in complete control of this game. When even the best LPL teams, even the best professional teams in China, sometimes they feel pressured by these late game compositions. But when you see the way that the top tier teams play, when they pick Ziggs and Lucian, they're always cool. They value every single advantage, and they always know exactly what they have to do to pull out the win. And it seems like AcFun has a pretty solid idea.
And historically in the LSPL, AcFun splits. I think they've split 4 of their last 6 matches in the LSPL, going 1-1. So they definitely have the potential to come back here and not perhaps go on tilt and get 2-0'd. So it is game, set, and match for HanGong Club, but AcFun looking really strong early in the game. And speaking of strong, look at that CS difference in the mid lane, 86 to 140 in favor of NCT this time around.
We were talking last game about how poorly NCT was playing in the Oriental matchup.
Hold up 1 second, because Crow looks like he's sneaking into top lane. Never mind, gonna whiff, as you were saying.
Yeah, so, but NCT has definitely stepped up his performance. It helps that he's been clearing out a lot of waves with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Still, he has a lot of early advantages, and you can tell by the items. NCT is about half an item up on CK, and we all know how well CK played the last game. So, very impressive performances from multiple members of AcFun. Surprisingly, despite how well he played in the last game, EM hasn't done much this game despite having 2 assists. He's mostly been in team fights where everybody's been, but he hasn't been able to pull off, individual ganks besides one in the bottom lane. So, he's definitely going to try to get a little bit more action and then try to convert another bottom lane gank into a kill so they can finally get this bottom lane turret and make something happen in the middle lane. But we see, Minoko might get.
Cast goes out for Minoko to disengage Shuda. Crow goes in, finds the red, but not find
Nice.
much else. But in the bottom, again, chain CC between the Flag and Drag and the Crescendo, but will Nabi go down? Oh, does go down to the calling, and the Mega Inferno Bomb gets involved, but a little too late to get anything out of it. But this surely looks like a dragon transition from AcFun.
Yeah, and what happened right there was that, so the EM actually missed his flag toss, and so he knew that the members of AcFun knew that they weren't going to be able to knock up the Sona, and they weren't going to be able to change the crowd control after Shine just barely landed his crescendo onto the support, Y of HanGong Club. So what AcFun's Victor did was that he started the culling, and he nearly got all of the culling procs off, but once it became apparent that Y was out of reach, he actually flashed over the really hard wall, the really solid big wall, and was able to finish out the kill beautifully, beautiful mechanical play, whereas, we often see players mess up that flash. We actually saw it in the last game. So, really good on Victor, and displaying his nice Lucian mechanics this game.
Definitely in the top lane, Crow and Suda getting really involved there. Unfortunately, have not found much success ganking that Gragas there. We talk about the safety of Gragas, the tankiness of Gragas, allowing him to just pretty much do as he pleases, 102 to 100 CS. So Jack's caught up a little bit despite how far he's been pushed down in the early game, but staying pretty dead even in this top lane. And personally, that's not where you want to be with the Jax.
Yeah, I mean, this Jax is only going to get stronger and stronger, and just because, when you have a champion like Jax with so much mobility, it's hard to, put a lot of damage onto these carries. So the question of course is, obviously when you have 2 late game threats. You have the Kog'Maw and the Jax, right? And the thing about Minoko and EM this game, and NCT as well, is that they can really only burst one because they have a lot of targeted damage, unless either Minoko or NCT lands a beautiful 4-man either Cataclysm or Explosive Cask or Mega Inferno Bomb. But just because of how far apart Suda and BML are usually going to fight, and how well Crow and CK usually have been playing team fights in this series, you really have to wonder whether AcFun will have any late game answers for this team composition. We see a weird tidal wave right there.
Trying to force the engagement. Sonic Wave does land as well as the bubble, but Crow is not going to follow that up under the tower with the crescendo available. Crow expending a lot of time in the bottom, actually walked through a ward initially when he came down there, causing EM to also walk down there, cleared some wards, and now Pseudo up in the top lane.
He popped the Blade of the Room King.
He is looking like he's going for the chase. The cask is still available. Gragas just going to walk this one out, takes a swig, continues going, but meanwhile now in the bot lane, actually, top lane, CK getting involved, but again, Gragas, too hard to gank, too much mobility, too much tankiness, too much wave clear, and now it looks like a 4v2 on this bottom. Crow getting involved, 3v4, coming around the back, will they find the crescendo? The crescendo on one person.
Yeah.
A flag and drag out, Axion just initially trying to scatter. Here comes the teleport from Pseudo. Will he get involved? The bubble does land on Jarvan, but there's no follow-up. A good cast to clear it up, and it's now a 4v4. One goes down, 4v3.
Are trapped. Oh my goodness.
They're trapped on their tower. It's pretty much fish in a barrel for NCT, just dropping these Qs, and it is going to be a 3-for-2 trade in favor of AcFun.
Yeah, and the story, really the story of that fight, and AcFun is going to be able to get this turret, grab a 6-kill lead, and then proceed to rotate towards the mid lane turret. So really the story of that fight was that CK was not in position at all. Additionally, despite the fact that Shine only hit one person with his crescendo, it really didn't matter just because of how strong AcFun's composition is right now, and how just how much crowd control they have from every other member of the team, especially, when you're pressed up against a wall like that, when you're stuck between the champions and the turret, then one explosive cast will just completely stun the entire team. So really well played from AcFun, and, we said that CK was going to have to try to, carry his teammates through the fragile phases of the game, and it looks like he's a little bit late on that, so, hopefully CK can make up for it in other ways, even though AcFun's going to have a very easy time sieging turrets now.
And we talked about in Champions like how AcFun, they consistently are picking these mid-game power spike compositions. Victor on that Lucian this time around, 4-0-3, so definitely the power spike he wants to be in. Do you think this is going to translate? Will AcFun be able to tie up this series?
Yeah, I mean, AcFun is looking very strong, and Suda's actually going.
Suda going very hard. Does force out the cask, but.
So nice explosive cast from Minoko, but I do think AcFun does have what it takes. I'm not exactly. So the question right now, of course, is and looks like the bottom lane of HanGong Club is going to be able to grab some early gold for themselves. But the question is, can CK at the inner tier turret line, can they clear enough waves to start scaling at this game? Now, another question would also be, can they prevent a Baron? Because they know that their biggest source of engage is, again, either the Cataclysm or Shine's Flash Crescendo. So, they're going to have to play cautiously, but if you play cautiously, you're just going to keep giving up turrets. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now in terms of how to play against this AcFun composition.
Definitely cautiously gave them up that tower in the mid lane. Now Suda is going to have to clear out as Minoko comes back with full health. Everyone kind of backing up, returning to their own thing. So right now, 21 minutes into the game, 29 to 33k. Slight gold advantage for AcFun here. Most of the power, though, is on the correct people, specifically their carry, Victor. 4-0-3 again. Has the Infinity Edge. We saw the Infinity Edge Lucian come out from him last time. Will this be enough? Looks like he's going for that. He's actually got a Zeal and an Avarice Blade, so he has the beginnings of both a Phantom Dancer and a Ghost Blade.
Yeah, and I mean, so obviously every single member of AcFun looking very strong right now. Does look like the Static Shiv might come out from Victor's Lucian, as is standard in China. The dragon is up again.
A PD though to synergize with the Eye Edge. I mean, typically they go Shiv, but I think he needs that crit stat.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean, anything that Victor builds right now would be pretty viable, just because of how far ahead he is. 4-0-3. You can do absolutely anything you want. He could build Sword of the Occult right now, and I wouldn't really care. Anyways, so this next dragon supposedly should be free. I don't think that HanGong Club has the tools to contest it. But again, we've seen AcFun falter at these key moments, but it looks like that this dragon will be easy enough. I think the next correct move is to rotate towards the mid lane, because they don't want to let Suda farm and split push all day. So they need to apply a lot of pressure on one particular point of the map and force Suda to come down and join his teammates.
Did you lag out?
Yeah, slightly.
I can tell, because it was a free dragon, and they are, as you predicted, now in this mid lane.
Yeah, okay, it just refreshed for me. Yeah, they are now in the mid lane. I'm at 23-10. 11. 12.
Yeah, you're about 2 seconds ahead of me.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
Yep. We do now see them kind of rotating up for possibly a gank on Suda. He is trying to back out, doesn't find the B, is now looking for the traditional escape route, cutting down through the Strive, warding over the Baron, looking for his escape route through that Baron pit. Looks like AcFun just going to back out, possibly go back into this mid lane. They are competing and trying to siege against a Lulu, however. Actually, I didn't even notice CK's in the bot lane. It's just BML defending this tower.
Yeah, basically. And I don't think BML can do much. Obviously, the Kog'Maw, the Kog'Maw wave clear is very impressive after 30 minutes. But with just a Trinity Force and a Pirate's Cutlass, BML does not have the tools to carry at this particular moment in time, even though he has farmed considerably well. So again,
huge misposition from CK to just allow that to happen, though.
Yeah. Honestly, like, if you're a member of HanGong Club, HC, I think, if you're a member of the HanGong Club, you really want to. Oh, you're talking about. I'm dumb. Anyways, you really all you're doing is looking towards the late game. I mean, that's all you can hope for right now. Hopefully, Suda can, even if at the cost of his life sometimes, hopefully Suda can apply enough pressure on either the top or bottom lanes to get himself fed enough to, demand a presence in the lane with him. But until that point, AcFun has control over everything. They can even get this Baron for free if they wanted to, and it looks like every single member of AcFun is going for the Baron. I think HanGong Club knows that they have to contest something right here, lest the Ziggs and Lucian just get absolutely out of control. So that's what they're doing. That's why they're going to this Baron pit.
Pro was spot out by EM, just catching him warding, drops the ward on a pink ward though, so that's going to get cleaned up. Suda also get involved with Shine, doesn't go hard, Shine doesn't go hard on it. We do have Gragas now in the bot lane, has the teleport available to him. So the question now is, are they going to contest the Baron and force a team fight, or are they going to look for other pressure and advantages and gold sources along the map? Looks like they're going to fall back to their own jungle, pick up that blue buff, perhaps return to the waves and get them pushed past this river, but what's the next move here? Is it going to be a Baron force?
Yeah, so it very well might be of Baron, but AcFun has to make sure that they have the necessary vision control around the map for that. The blue buff is taken away by CK, no smite needed. Now, it does look like...
is 0 for 3 on those 3-pointers for that blue buff. He's tried pretty much every single time, but to no avail.
Definitely not a .A level Ziggs player, but still, no, he's been very impressive though, and I've been happy with what we've seen from him tonight. It doesn't really make sense for this 3-man split push to be going on. Ideally, again, what I really think AcFun should be doing is grouping as 5, and then putting a lot of pressure into a single point so as to demand Suda return to group with his teammates, lest AcFun take an inhibitor turret, an inhibitor, and even the game. So, AcFun is very much ahead, and they have a lot of options right here, but I think they could be playing this composition a little bit better.
Definitely looking for the siege on this tower, but this time around, he's sieging against the Lulu. CK does have his blue buff available to him, and look at Gragas and Suda's positionings right now on the map here. Pretty much completely trading positions, just taking CS because there's no wave that's going to be built up that deep down.
Yeah, and it does look like
they're just
4
proxy
members.
farming each other.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting. That doesn't really do anything. I still think that Minoko should be teleporting to this top lane to help with the push, because it's obvious that while Suda is there, he's not going to be able to do anything with the wave missing. So again, as long as AcFun can siege down this turret, they'll be fine. But they could be doing some things a little bit better. Suda is going to be spotted out in the mid lane, and he will be able to apply pressure onto this mid lane turret, so Minoko's going to have to make a decision to either teleport to his teammates or go to the mid lane turret and clear out the waves. It does look like that second tier turret does fall down, and I think that AcFun should just be pressing the next wave as well.
War of Attrition does win out. Cast back into the tower for Suda, pops the Blade of the Rune King to create some distance and does manage to run out. Gragas, kind of tired of Suda's games, it seems like.
Yeah, it does really seem like that. I mean, Suda's doing the correct things. I mean, what he wants to do is just farm up to that late game. BML wants to farm up to that late game, and it seems like they've got plenty of CS, 229 and 230 CS respectively, and it looks like,
with the flash, will he find the Cataclysm into a Dragon
nice
Rage?
Dragon's Rage,
Nami
yeah, very nice Dragon's Rage.
Comes out to disengage Minoko. Now on the other side, doesn't have the cask available, but has plenty of CC and the red buff on his kick. Huge Mega Inferno Bomb across 3 members, forces the support into Lucian. There's the Crescendo, tags BML, but he's going to waddle away from this. Crow is tagged at the very end by the slow, but creates enough distance, and meanwhile, Minoko on the outskirts picks up Nami.
Yeah,
so a 2-for-0 trade in favor of AcFun here, but Suda trying to trade for this mid tower, and it looks like the entire team is ignoring him in favor of Baron.
Yeah, and just because the members of AcFun know that if they get this Baron, even if their turrets go down, they can still just march up the mid lane and either get the inhibitor or even potentially get the game. So this is the correct call from the members of AcFun, and a very well played fight. So Obviously, I didn't really see where Suda was, but if he wasn't involved in that fight at all, then yeah, there was no way that AcFun could have done anything to win that fight. A few key things. First of all, Crow avoided even a potentially stickier situation by using his Dragon's Rage kick, his ultimate, onto the very aggressive and nice steal from Crow right there. Onto the very aggressive EM, so Crow with a nice play. However, right when Shine flashed over to get the crescendo onto either one or two members, you could tell that the fight was going to be cleaned up by the members of AcFun.
And definitely, Crow does manage to save a little bit of his team's dignity there, trying to pick up a kill. Despite it being 2-10 in early Baron and a lot of early Dragons in favor of AcFun, the gold lead isn't so astronomically out of control. It's about an 8k gold lead, 7k in favor of AcFun, 42 to 49. But again, across the board, HG lost pretty much everywhere. They lost in towers, they lost in Dragons, they lost in the Baron, and I feel like it should be a lot farther along than it is. A lot of this goes back to the CS, specifically in the top lane, 251 to 229.
Yeah, and I mean, just obviously, I mean, there isn't a lot to say about this game analytically. It's clear what both teams are trying to do. I'm still a little bit critical of AcFun's decision to not have grouped earlier, because I think this game could have been much farther along by now. It is a 7k goalie, which is certainly manageable. Suda actually turns around and
but he
always
completely dodges the cast, and now he's turning the damage over onto Gragas. It is going to leap strike out by
Suda.
CK, but some blue suede shoes on Suda right there to dodge that out.
Yeah. Speaking of blue, I'm feeling a little blue because I'm ahead of you, Rhyme, haha. But then, so hopefully, my emotions don't get the best of me, and I'll let you commentate the game. But, Suda with a very nice play right there, because he would certainly have died. Additionally, there's a wave pushing the top lane, so Suda can actually make the decision to go to the top lane and try to push as many ways as he can. The difference, is, that Suda does not have his teleport, while Minoko does. So this turret is obviously going to go down, and they can even think about the inhibitor turret now. AcFun's not going to be able to pressure the inhibitor turret that well, but Suda does get the mid lane turret. Suda's playing fantastically right now, and just Minoko's just chasing him everywhere, and he isn't able to catch him, especially because Suda is in a stage where he can duel Minoko at the current moment. So, AcFun, they're getting into stickier and stickier situations, and if they don't make a decisive move right now, then who knows if they're going to win this game. I mean, they need to make plays happen, and they have all the tools to do that. They have a 7k gold lead, not to mention the fact that they have, unstoppable amounts of wave clear, very much hard CC, an aggressive jungler, a Lucian with a double, with a Lightslinger passive that absolutely Rex turrets, sorry.
Shreks.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. It's late. I'm tired. I slept at 2:30 last night. So, AcFun, what they want to do is, they really want to be clearing these waves as hard as they can, but then Minoko should certainly be there to do that. Suda barely avoids.
Barely gets out on that B, and as we're saying, AcFun is shredding through this tower, mostly from Victor, using his passive damage to just half health us. It is going to be a slow war of attrition with the Baron buff region. Suda now back with his team, so 4v5. I feel like HG have to find a hard engage here.
Right, and then, I mean, the tower is still pretty high, but Suda's going in.
Suda is in the middle of it. The teleport is coming out from Minoko on that place Pinkwood. Nami comes across too, but now it's a 5v5. They have to be very careful. A fantastic cask and Mego in front of bomb put pretty much everyone on HG at a quarter health, just trying to disengage as quickly as possible. Wild Growth and Dragon Rage both burned. They saved their lives, but they're back to the tower. A lot of people back to B, and it looks like it's going to be a free inhibitor tower for AcFun.
With all these ultimates down from the side of HanGong Club, yeah, AcFun can definitely think about this inhibitor and then rotating towards either the top or middle lane. Alternatively, they can just spend their gold. Suda's actually flashed in. Oh my goodness.
Suda now in the middle of it all with a counter-strike, locks up Gragas, but it's taking huge damage from Victor. Does fall instead to NCT, however. It is now HG on the run. BML locked up by a crescendo. Does follow up with a chain CC. Immediately falls to Victor. 2-for-1 trade in favor of AcFun
Yeah, they
still,
can finish this game.
and they're pushing on the Nexus towers.
I think they're going to finish this game really well played by AcFun. They knew what they needed to do. I think that they could have ended this game much earlier, but still, a win's a win's a win. And it looks like the NCT is going to give some final damage, and Y is completely
Just bounce
stunned.
around Y like a ping pong ball. He will go down, as well as the first Nexus tower. CK on the other side trying to do what he can to stall this out, but Minoko so tanky, pops. He's pretty much fighting the Nexus tower and CK. Will he get out with his life? Yes, he is going to belly bop away. Oh, AcFun just picking up kills left and right. Second Nexus tower
Oh my
falls.
goodness.
CK so low, he is picked up by a bomb from NCT. They are now turning on to the Nexus tower. This is AcFun from the grave to split this 1-1. We're going to a best of 3.
Minoko 3-0-8 on Gragas. NCT 3-0-6 on Ziggs.